who's going to be able to join. Otherwise, in case if there's a delay, then I'll just continue on my side. And once this is done, I'll just make sure that it stays available so that whoever uh, wants to catch up, they can at their own suitable time catch up. Let me see. No one has joined up to this. Mm. Okay. I see two honorable members have joined, which is good. We will therefore be able to continue. So remember, honorable members, this is what I wanted to share with you. Let me just write that down. It's not necessarily a full lesson where we solve for some problems, but I want to actually give you some tips, and this is how you can participate. Just in case if you've got any questions, just in case if you want to say something, you can either comment on the live charts or you can just send some comments in the Telegram classroom. I'm just not sure who has attended, but also in case if you, I think, please do that, honorable members. Whoever has attended, just comment either on the comment section or in the Telegram classroom. Just comment with your name to say, I'm also live. You don't need to mention your what is it? Your name. You just comment and say, I'm live. That's if you comment in the Telegram classroom. Then I'll see your name and I will know who has attended. So let's see. Okay, Amatle has attended. Okay, so let's see. Let me just write down all that I want us to discuss. Most importantly, how to pass with distinctions. One thing for sure, not an easy thing to do, but we can be able to discuss it so that you guys have got an idea of what goes into passing with flying colors. Okay, I see Jobs is there. Who Pabalo Mukonyana has also attended. Okay, so let's see. The other thing that I would like for us to discuss or maybe to share with you is how I got distinction. Okay, and then what we are going to be discussing, it won't be limited to else. Did I say very much important, honorable members, how you fail exams. I'm very much happy that I won't get disturbed when I do lessons because you guys will communicate by sending some texts. So in between, I won't have some interruptions. So let's see, what else do you guys think is worth talking about? How to avoid making mistakes during exams. Okay, also that one, how to avoid mistakes during an exam. Okay, I think the honorable members, these two things, they might be explained in just one communication. I will just give you a quick background about myself. You know, obviously, at primary level, in primary, uh, almost every learner is able to get very, very good marks because we do not have a lot of distraction. Our focus is on our studies. So many of us during my time, we were getting some good marks, honorable members. We were getting some flying colors, and it wasn't easy to tell who is actually good and what extent, because on the first test 80%, and not just one learner but many of us. Next test someone gets the highest mark, and then the next test someone gets different marks. So things started changing when we got to a secondary school. And the big changes started in grade 10. Everything, otherwise, all along, everything was fine. But the moment we got to grade 10, that's when I could feel that things were now starting to get difficult. Not necessarily for myself, but I could notice some difficulties on my fellow learners. So, in my case, the honorable members, when I was in grade 9, that's when I started to study by myself, even though whatever that I would study, it's natural sciences, technology. We also had things like EMS, arts and culture, etc. So even though I would study on my own all of those things, nothing made sense, the honorable members. Nothing made sense. And that also includes mathematics. And I think what contributed towards me having interest in studying mathematics, it's because I had that calculator that had a fraction button. Never underestimate the power of this calculator, honorable members. Just make sure that you always have this type of a calculator. It has some added benefits. So what happened was, also in this same grade, I did try to study on my own, even though nothing made sense. So during December time, honorable members, I was more curious into knowing what am I going to find in grade 10. What is actually being done in grade 10, which is different from what is being done in grade or let me say in the lower grades, from grade 9 going down. Then I realized there are actually different streams. You can either do the sciences stream or the business studies. It was only two streams in our case. Okay, I think let's say the third one was that one of agricultural sciences. So myself, I wanted to go for this one of sciences, and the reason to that is because they said you can be a medical doctor, you can do a engineering. It had more opportunities according to what it was described. But also I had to try and learn maths by my own, but I failed while I was in grade 9 to try and study the content for grade 10. So I remember taking my mathematical textbook and also that one for physical sciences. I only had those two. Then what I did was then to just study. I remember I started with paper 1 for physical sciences. So I did study using that textbook, not even being aware that there's actually paper 1 and paper 2, but I just started the textbook from the first page. My aim was that soon after we closed, after our grade 9, I wanted to start the textbook from the start and study it up until the end, but I couldn't finish, and I only studied most of the textbook which falls under paper 1, which is your physics. And then from there, honorable members, what happened was, at the same time when I was studying these physical sciences, I was also doing mathematics at the same time. And obviously, starting from page 1, going in that direction. And from page 1, that's where you do more of, you solve for x, and then after, I think it's things like number pattern, etc. And I got to a point where I realized that actually what the teacher does in class it is actually there in the textbook. And you find that in the textbook, it is well arranged. It is in the easiest format. It is in that order that you can follow when you study. The reason why chapter 1, or the reason why in the textbook they started with a specific chapter, it's because they know that you need to firstly do that chapter, and then after you move on to the next chapter, of which you will need the knowledge from this chapter in order to be able to understand that. Then I got to realize that actually, um, when you read the information, not just read, but reading to understand, it helps, because some of the information, which is the most important information, you find in the text. But in our case, let's say from the previous grades up until this grade, I never thought that is how one studies. I thought a teacher has to come, stand in front of you, and explain to you how things are done, especially when a new chapter is being done. I thought someone has to stand in front of you and explain until you understand. Only when I started studying by myself, that's when I realized that actually you can study by your own, you can learn things from the textbook. And those things that you're studying in the textbook, they're actually the same as what you are being taught in class. The only difference is that in this case, you are actually learning them by your own. And most importantly, I think it's worth it to mention that it is not easy, and you can just study, say, for about, let's say, 10 minutes, and then from there, you encounter something that you don't understand, and it drains all of your energy, and it becomes easier to just give up and focus on something else. By something else, I mean maybe going out playing soccer or netball. But it also depends on how you approach the problems, and also how you study. Okay, so now when we opened the honorable members, obviously I knew I was promoted to the next grade. When I got to grade 10, improved. It seems like I was disconnected there. But let me quickly check from you guys if you can still be able to hear me, and again, if disconnected for a moment. Can someone comment either on the live chats or in the classroom? I see here Amatle Msomi, Paballo Njabulo, Big Smokey, I see Sisamkele, Akanya Roniwa, Refense Kamvivi Ntando. Okay, I see who has joined. But guys, is it clear? Is it clear? Are you still able to hear me? Can you clearly see there? I just need a yes from one of the honorable members, then I'll continue. No response. Okay, I will just continue with an assumption that you guys are able to hear me, and also, in case if you are not able to hear me, I do know very well that you're going to let me know immediately in the classroom, just like you always do. Okay, so this is what I was explaining, honorable members, to say when I was in grade 10, that's when I could notice that actually my level of understanding has improved. And the reason why I was able to notice that, it's because it did not take me long to understand what the teacher wanted to explain. And the next day, it wasn't easy for me, not necessarily that it wasn't easy, but I wouldn't just easily forget what was explained the previous day or the previous lesson. And that's how I could gauge that actually studying during December time, it did help me because when you get to grade 10, I'll just give an example, making use of physical sciences. There are terms like the change, delta. Change, we talk about velocities, we talk about acceleration, we talk about vector quantities, scalar quantities, etc. There were many more, electric circuits, whatever the case may be. Tandazile Matabela, thanks, honorable member, for that response. Now I will confidently continue, knowing that someone is able to hear me. So, what happened was, um, while everyone was struggling to remember what delta is, what velocity is, acceleration is, all of that, and also struggling to remember their formulas. Myself, I wasn't there. That was not my struggle. My struggle was then, how do we calculate? How do we present the answers? How do we know the tricks within the questions? Those were my struggles. And because I was already familiar with all of this, when I ask questions, my questions were always relevant because I would ask the relevant questions. And those questions were specific because I wanted to understand a specific thing that I failed to understand when I was studying by myself. So that was me in grade 10. So I got encouraged to do the same or to approach things the same way when I went to grade 11. Because I could remember that it actually helps to study ahead. So if you want to make a point, honorable members, on how to pass with distinctions, make a point to say studying ahead, because that's basically what I did. Studying ahead, honorable members, it means you taking a textbook and you study the chapter that is coming. And most importantly, you do not neglect the current chapter that you might be doing in class. So that means it is very much important, and it is necessary that uh, by the time you get to the chapter that you guys are doing in class, you must have already done it by your own. And doing it by your own, it doesn't mean you need to understand everything. Just read through the content, just so that you are aware that there are ways like whatever the word may be, just so that in case if you read the definition of that word and it still doesn't make sense, then when the teacher explains it in class, you will be able to ask exactly what does that specific word mean. And if you don't get an understandable response, you will still be able to say, I don't really understand it when it gets to this part. Unlike if you have not done it before, even when it is being explained to you, it doesn't seem like a, it's easy, because you just don't understand it, and you don't know what could be making you not to understand it. So it becomes a bit difficult to guide the teacher in terms of how you want it to be explained. Remember, guys, uh, it doesn't mean a thing can be explained in one way. There are many ways to explain one thing. It's just a matter of the explainer understanding to what extent you are lost, or what exactly do you know, or what is your current understanding. Then they will try to explain it differently in a way that you will understand, or in a way that it will remove the confusion. So studying ahead, it is very much important, honorable members. Most importantly, Tandazile, it doesn't end there. It's not only studying ahead, but this is a receipt. So this is what you do, honorable members. Let's just call it self-study for now. Self-study, where you study on your own, and then from there, once you know that, okay, we have now started with term 1. This one, let me say, during holidays, this is what you do during holidays. You just study by yourself. And then when you guys open, what you do, you study ahead. By studying ahead, this is what I mean. You need to have what we call pace setter. Pace setter, which guides you in terms of what you're supposed to cover during your term 1, term 2, term 3. So that means before you get to term 1, make sure that you have studied all that you will need to cover in term 1. So that means you cover the theory part. You study on your own, and then the teacher comes, and then you do it again with the teacher. It's going to feel like it's a revision, and you will be able to ask relevant questions, and you will then be assisted. Once you have done that, honorable members, all that you do is to treat past papers. And make sure that when you treat those past papers, you have a Q papers being question papers plus the memo. Never make a mistake of having a past question paper and not have its memo. Because what you studied here, what you learned there, what you learned there, and also what you connecting there. Let me just check. Guys, live, and can you hear me? Can you see there? Is it still clear? Maybe you won't need to comment in Telegram, because for you to comment in Telegram, you will need to go out of this live. But you can just comment just like Tandazile did there. Guys, can you see? Can you hear me? I think so. I would like to continue believing that you are still able to hear me and you can see there. So this, which is what I'm guiding you to do, honorable members, is what I've done during my time. So what I did, obviously all of that tick, all of that tick, all of that tick, and then this is where now I invested much of my time, and that's when I realized everything is working. So that means, honorable members, as you do all of this, take, say, Q papers for the past 10 years. It might sound like it's too much of work to do, honorable members. Number one, not easy to get the question papers. Number two, not that it's not. It's easy to get the question papers. It's easy to get the memos. I've made it easy. Reference, thanks, honorable member. Tandazile, again, thanks for confirming that. I'm only getting your messages now. So, there is, honorable members, the online library that I've created where I've posted past question papers. You can also get on the government website where you can get the question papers and the memos for your specific grade. So, question papers and the memos. So that means after having done all of this, you no longer need to go back to all of this, but just make sure that for each and every chapter that you study, you summarize by having your own notes, of which even after 3 months, if you need to start practicing, that specific chapter, you no longer have to read the whole textbook, but you just go through your notes. And something that I almost forgot to mention is that um, when you study, you don't use one textbook, honorable member. Never use one textbook. Make sure that you've got as many textbooks as possible. And when you study, you don't just take a textbook, read from page 1 until the end. Have intentions to say, I want to focus on this type of content. If it's all for X in maths, take all different textbooks, gather them together, and then only practice solve for X in those different textbooks. If it's theory, you do the same for that specific chapter, and then you conclude by summarizing all that you've read in different textbooks by only taking out or extracting important information. I hope that makes sense, honorable members. Or maybe before I even go far, do you guys understand what I'm explaining there? Does it make sense to all of you, honorable members? And also, as I'm explaining, I forgot to tell you that post the questions that you might be having. I might be explaining something and you feel like I could explain more on 1, 2, 3, but I'm not getting there or I'm not touching that point. That's probably because it's been a while and I'm not really sure in terms of what you guys think could be more beneficial. I'm just saying what I can remember at the moment because I intentionally did not prepare some notes just so that I don't fix or narrow all of this to whatever that I can remember at the moment, just so that I'm not fixated to saying whatever based on the comments or the bullets that I would have made. So just in case if you are wondering or you want to ask something, just post here on the live lesson and then I will check that question. Then I will explain more. Whatever that I'm saying, it makes sense. You can just comment and say point taken, noted that you think is worth adding to your notes. So what I was saying was, once you have summarized, you then start, let's say from 2010, you solve question papers from 2010, but only focusing on one chapter, say electric circuits in physics. You just do electric circuits for the question paper written in 2010, 2011, 12, 13, up until 2022. Only focusing on that specific chapter. Then you know, honorable members, I'm telling you, whenever a question paper comes, I used to only focus on final exam question papers, then November, October, November question papers. I used to only do those. The moment I started realizing that actually this thing is working, that's when I tried to solve for exam question papers for June, preparatory examinations, for those who are actually, what is it? I forgot what is called supplementary. I think it's supplementary. When you've written your exams and then you failed and then you still have another chance to rewrite a different paper. So I would take those and I would find them very much easy to solve because I have done the most difficult questions. So I would do that same thing for other question papers. By other question papers, I mean for on other subjects, I would do or apply the same strategy. And it worked, the honorable members. It worked because the results that I was hoping to achieve, or the results that I was hoping to get after every chapter that I do, I would get those results. So I had to do the same for all other subjects because I could notice this is actually working. Doing the past exam papers, having the memo, focusing on just one chapter, master it, and then move on to the next chapter. Now, this is what almost everyone wasn't aware that it works. You can do all of this, the honorable members, you can do all of this, but you can stand a chance of not benefiting from all of this. And I think I have told you before, honorable members, that once you have learned something, once you've mastered it, please teach others this simple thing. Teach others. It doesn't matter whether you teach someone who's a top learner in your class. The moment you start understanding that specific chapter and you've mastered it, please teach them. The reason why you need to teach them is because through them, you will understand challenges associated with specific chapters. For example, someone might be struggling because they were wondering and they never got to get an answer of what they were wondering. And then as you teach them, that's when you will hear them saying, "Oh, this is what I thought. Oh, this is the mistake that I was doing. Oh, this is what I thought. It's actually making it impossible." And through those type of engagements, that's when you realize that actually honorable members are not failing because they are dumb or they are not serious about education, or whatever the case may be, but possibly because there is that one most important thing which they are missing. And once you explain to them, to you, you will understand it even 10 times more, the honorable members. And the benefit of that is that you will never forget that specific chapter because you've explained it. You're going to be like those teachers who no longer go to class with textbooks. Everything is in their head because they're explaining the same thing over and over and over and over again, which is what happened to me. I did them during December time, and when we opened, I did them, and around March, I was done with my matric, completely done with everything. All that I would do, it was just to help the honorable members, just so that I don't forget what I've learned. And that's how I became even more good. If there's good, goodest, then I became goodest. Which is what I'm encouraging you to do. It's not like you have to be intelligent. Myself, I wasn't that much intelligent, the honorable members. I would get the highest marks during primary. I would be the highest. But those who were the highest, or those who would get the highest marks, their marks significantly dropped when we got to grade 10 and continued to decline when we got to grade 11. And then in grade 12, that's when they started to be serious. And luckily, with me being around and not being greedy with information, I was able to assist them. And now, because their brains were a bit more powerful, even though they lacked information, they were able to quickly learn, adjust, and be able to make it. So that is the most important thing, the honorable members, how to get distinctions and also how I got distinctions. That's what I did. Nothing more, nothing special. It's not like you need to pray hard. It's not like you need to make sure that you fast or whatever the case may be. You may be doing those for other reasons, but they don't contribute towards you getting distinctions. You just need to make sure that you study. Not only hard, but you also study smart. It's easy to do this. Very, very much easy. That is why it should be easy for me to even explain why you guys fail exams. You can do all of this and miss that one most important information, which is what I would like for you to take note. Honorable members, during exam, you do exactly what you have been doing with all of this. You don't write exam during exam times. No. With these past exam papers, honorable members, with these past exam papers, with you doing that specific chapter for the past 10 years, using the question papers for the past 10 years, this is you started preparing for examinations. That question one, that not necessarily the same feeling, but it is the same process that you would have gone through if you were writing a paper for that specific year. The only difference is that when you are practicing, let me say, no emotions involved. Or maybe let me say, no fear involved. Or maybe let me add on to say, no panic involved. On the honorable members. It was saying reconnecting. I'm no longer confident if it has fully connected. Guys, can you hear me? Is it clear? Are we still okay that side? Amahle, Babalo, Njabulo, Smokies, Samkele is there, Akanya, Ronewa, Reference is there, Kamvivin Tando. Guys, are we still okay there? Just having a feeling that everything is still okay. Okay. So let's see. This is what you need to be aware of, the honorable members, to say the moment you start practicing, that's when you realize that actually what I'm practicing, everything is okay. I can work the problems, check the memo and find that I did well. Maybe let me add to say, how do I explain this one? I want to include time to say, time not important. No pressure of time. Yes, let me say no pressure of time, but you experience that there. So what I'm saying is, when you practice, you can take, say, 15 minutes on one problem, but during exam, you don't have enough of that. So that means as you practice, you do chapter 1, you work it out, you do chapter 2, you chapter 3, chapter 4, and then you use those past question papers, etc. Then a month before you're going to be writing exams, or even before that, make sure that all these past papers, you redo them again. But in this case, you start from question 1 up until the last question. You start from question 1 and you do up until the last question, and make sure to try and complete everything within 3 hours. If that paper was allocated 3 hours, this is how you will know that, okay, if I'm doing or if I'm writing exams and I'm writing at this pace, I'm writing very slowly. If I'm writing at this pace, I'm okay. If I'm writing at this pace, I'm too fast. Knowing that is very, very much important, honorable members, because it helps you to work within that time. how you fail exams. In most cases, you fail exams because you don't answer all the questions. In most cases, you fail because you do not answer all the questions. And it's not only that, honorable members, you can still answer the questions and not answer the easy questions. So it's like you can write exam, you start with question 1, you get it nicely, you move on to question number 2, is difficult, you don't finish it, you say I'll come back to it, you go to question number 3, you don't finish it, you go to question number 4, difficult, question number 5, maybe you do it, question number 6, difficult, and then you leave out those other questions. And out of what you've written, you are not confident with some of them, and then some you did not complete. Only when it's done and the question paper is published, or whatever the case may be, that's when you realize that you should have actually done question 7, 8, maybe 9 and 10, and not have done these other questions. And that's how you realize that actually I've lost a lot of marks, not because I did not know what was supposed to be done, but probably because you did not start with the easy questions. So it is very much important, honorable members, that when you write exams, you start with the easy questions, or the questions that you are confident with. Then only after, that's when you can try work out the other questions which may be difficult. And all of this contribute towards you failing, or not failing, but passing with poor marks. So it is a lot of factors that contributes towards you failing your exams. Very much important, honorable members, on that one. I'm not sure if we're still together, guys. I would like for someone to just comment before I explain that last part over there. I'm just not sure if you comment in the classroom or on the live chat, but can someone just indicate if we are still together? And again, in case if you've got any questions, you can just pose those questions, just so that as I explain, I cover everything. I'll just be waiting for someone to comment in the meantime. Guys, are we still together? Can you still see there? Have you got any other questions for me? So I am temporarily waiting to hear if there are any questions, or if you guys are still there, or if you can be able to clearly hear me and see there. I'm just hoping that we are still together, honorable members. Okay, there's another one: how to avoid mistakes during exams. I'm going to give you an answer that you might not have expected. how to avoid mistakes during exam. Someone is thinking of something that should be done during exam to avoid mistakes during exams. This is the answer, guys. You avoid mistakes during exams before exams. It might not make sense, I understand. So, a you need to make mistakes before exam times. Once you have done a mistake, honorable member, once you have done a mistake and you were able to notice that it was a mistake, it's going to be easy to notice when you make it again because you know what is correct or how to correct that mistake. So that means you need to give yourself enough time to make mistake and make sure that you do as many mistakes as you can. When you study, you don't only study to do things correctly. Or maybe let me say in my case, I did not only study to do things correctly, but I also learned how to make mistakes with intentions to learn how to correct those mistakes. And it did not end there. I also learned why I would make those mistakes. You know, for every mistake that you make, there's a reason why you were tempted to make that mistake, even though it wasn't by intention, it was just a mistake. So when you study, you don't only study how to correct a mistake that you made, but you also need to study what could have led you to making that mistake, which is what I've learned. So that means learning is not limited to getting things right. And also, it is upon you to give yourself an opportunity to make those mistakes. And make as many as you can. The more you make, the more you learn, because for every mistake that you make, you will need to know what is the correction for that mistake. So this is me answering a question of how to avoid mistakes during exam. It's not like you avoid them during exams. No. You avoid them before exams. So I think with what I've said up to this point, it's enough for you guys to be able to have a better understanding of what goes into studying, what goes into preparations for exams. At least I was able to say all of this without the interruption, and I could say all that I can remember at the moment. I did not prepare for all of this with an intention not to only focus on certain things, but just to be all over to say whatever that I can remember. So I think on my side, honorable members, that's all that I wanted to share with you. I'm just wondering if you guys have got any questions or if you would like to let me sign out. So just be waiting for you guys to make that indication by either commenting here on the live chat or commenting in the Telegram classroom. Just indicate if you've got any questions, if you've got a suggestion that you'd suggest that I explain something. Otherwise, all if it's good, then I'll be signing out. I'll just be waiting to hear from you guys. I'm no longer sure who's still attending, but I'm pretty much sure that you got the question. Here I see Tandazile Matabela and also Refense Tibedi. These are the honorable members who previously commented. So, guys, I would like to just hear from you. Are we okay up to this point? Would you guys allow me to sign out? Any questions, guys? Or can I sign out? Tandazile, I'm okay. Say, or Kamvivi is there saying yes. Say, I'm assuming that you are allowing me to sign out. So in this case, I don't think there will be a need for the code because you guys did comment by saying I'm live, I'm live, I'm live, I'm live, I'm live. That is a good indication that you did attend. So guys, I do thank you very much for joining. My name is Desmond, and I'm out.